Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Sangam Talk, for this excellent opportunity. So, yes, I was a scientist in Defense Research and Development Organization in India when Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was the Director General DRDO. So, I had several interactions with him. So, his magnanimous personality had a awe-inspiring effect on me. So in the year 2005, I shifted to United States in order to join the senior faculties of Medical University of South Carolina, cardiology department. For a decade, I worked as an eminent drug researcher, discovering novel drugs for human cardiac ailments. I won several scientific publications and patents to my credit. I didn't lack any comfort in my perfect life abroad until my own personal life event compelled me to look into the traditional use of local herbs and organic farming. It is often said that necessity is the mother of invention. In my case, the necessity came in the form of my mom's ailment. So back in Tamil Nadu, my mom was diagnosed with advanced arthritis and spondylitis. She was initially prescribed oral painkillers to take care of her pain. However, did not remove her pain. Instead, she developed a gastric ulcer due to their side effects. Following that, oral painkillers and topical intravenous injections were administered regularly. And this worked for some time. However, she stopped responding to all these drugs, and she was finally left with severe pain and immobility. So this particularly pained me immensely as I was in the medical field myself, but I was unable to take care of my own mother. That's when I happened to read a review article on Moringa oleifera. It is otherwise called drumstick leaves, which is often mentioned as a medicinal plant in Indian folklore. Upon my suggestion, my mom started taking boiled moringa juice every morning. So her condition was surprisingly better, getting better by the day. My mom's rapid improvement and several other scientific studies regarding the health benefit of Moringa oleifera strengthened my belief to be used as a cure for several diseases. So the moringa leaves are the world's nutritious leaves on this planet. It has been recommended by World Health Organization to as a supplement to take care of the malnourishment in malnourished African countries. So it is rich of macronutrients as well as micronutrients and so much of phytomedicine. So, you know, what is food? Food is the one which provides energy to sustain our life as well as for our growth. What is medicine? So, the medicine is the one we give to treat a disease or to cure a disease. So, the moringa leaves are a perfect example of food medicine because it has got a food component. So, it is rich of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and micronutrients, vitamins. It is also rich of phytomedicine in the form of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, fever-reducing compounds, anti-cancer compounds. So it is the food in itself. It is also medicine. As it is said, good nutritious food is the foundation of good health. The father of Western medicine, Hippocrates, rightly said, food is medicine. So when we consume this moringa leaves, we not only provide necessary energy to the body for our sustenance, it is also preserve our health. After this realization, so I grew patient towards moringa plant. I even grew many moringa plants abroad and donated it to herbal gardens, botanical gardens, and several families and friends. So then I decided to return to India permanently. And soon after I returned, I invented a polyherbal nutraceutical compound, which is called Moringa Bullet, which is made out of fresh moringa leaves along with the other traditional herbal concoctions. So these moringa bullet worked wonders for many patients suffering from arthritis, anemia, diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on. So, solution to most of our health problem lies in nature, how we harness to fulfill our need. That's why I wanted to study more about the traditional use of herbs as well as organic agriculture. With my mom's encouragement, I bought a plot of land and ensured chemical-free cultivation of, grains, fruits, and vegetables. I even went across Tamil Nadu in order to find rare and forgotten rice varieties. Some of them are called Maple Samba, Kichili Samba, Karum Kuruvai, Karupu Kauni. These crops are carefully selected by our ancestral farmers and passed on several thousand generations, not only based on its unique tolerance to extreme climatic conditions, but it also in the presence of unique medicinal properties. These crops were grown using all natural organic inputs such as fertilizers made out of cow dung, cow urine, and local herbs. So when we consume these crops, we not only benefit with the wholesome nutrients, it also activates detoxification system in our body and also enhances immune system function. Unfortunately, now our traditional farming methods and indigenous seeds are at the verge of extinction due to farmers quickly adopting hybrid seeds, chemical fertilizers, and pesticides, ignoring ignoring the negative impact on their own health and the environment. Okay, so in order to respond to it, so we started on a societal mission. Myself and my family members reached out to local farming communities through women's groups and local farmers market, spreading awareness about our traditional farming practices and traditional seeds, teaching them these methods, and giving them seeds in order to reintroduce lost heirloom seeds back into my village. So now what exactly organic farming? So we often hear about organic products and how it promotes ecological balance and sustains biodiversity. What all these simply means, why it is important. So I would like to start with an example. If you see a packet of urea, it says it contains 46% of urea. Do you know what the rest of the 54% it has? So it has mostly of chemical fillers. When it is applied to the soil, it completely erodes the soil microbial population due to accelerated changes in the pH of the soil. Secondly, it also depletes the soil of essential nutrients. According to the United States Department of Agriculture Nutrient Data Laboratory, the food produced from soils which are fed with the chemical fertilizer are found to have lesser sodium, lesser calcium, magnesium, and potassium content. So, in modern agricultural practices, the farmers they use a lot of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and artificial growth promoters in order to achieve higher yield, which is highly unsustainable practice, which leads to pollution of the soil and water bodies and affecting various life forms living in it, causing ecological disorder. There is a beautiful symbiotic relationship that persisted between humans and nature over several years of evolution. We were seeking sustainable solutions from nature by adopting for humans challenges by adopting nature's time-tested principles. For example, discovery of fire, which made a leap into our human cultural evolution. So more we dwell into nature beyond the confines of rationalistic science, more we see all the life forms in nature are continuously starting from single cell to the complex organism and their ecosystem are continuously sensing and responding to each other. For example, plants acquire over 100 nutritive elements in a synchronous exchange with soil microbes. The plants are stuck in one place. Unlike us, we can move around. cater our needs. So they cannot move around. So they have to find nutrients for their sustenance from below where they stand. So the plant's roots can take up nutrients only in a ionic form, like nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, like that. But unfortunately in the soil, this all the nutrients are in locked in complex form. So how it could able to take in nutrients and survive? So how a plant can able to grow? Because it has taken help of the soil bacteria. So during the day, the plant produces extra amount of sugar in a process called photosynthesis. So the extra sugars are constantly transported from leaves to the stem, to the bark, to the roots, and through the roots, it is being constantly secreted out like a milk. So for soil microbes, the food is this sugar. So they move towards this constant food source and forms a colony all along the root zone, and then it takes in this sugar for its energy, and in turn it cooks the soil and mobilizes all the nutrients by secreting their enzyme into their external environment. And because all these complex molecular compounds are broken down and mobilized in ionic form, so the plants the root could able to take it, and it is used for its survival. Secondly, the soil microbes also assist in immune defense system of the plant. Say, for example, in the event of pest attack, the plant communicates that information to the soil bacteria through its roots, and in response to that, soil microbes produces microbial metabolites, which are taken up by the plant, and it is expressed as a modified phytochemical or biopesticides, which are expressed in their body in order to get rid of pests. So this is the perfect example of symbiotic relationship, wherein both the plants and the bacteria in a mutualistic beneficial relationship, and due to this, so the plant gets abundant nutrients and their health is ensured. So these phytochemicals, which are produced during the symbiotic interaction between the plant roots and the microbes, uh, which are very useful for the health of the plant during its life cycle of the plant. When we consume these plants, those phytochemicals, which are very useful for the health of the plant, it will also preserve our health. So, what is organic farming? Organic farming is not like sowing seeds and growing plants. It is rather growing the soil. If you see, the scientists have discovered there are 40,000 taxonomically identifiable species of the bacteria which are living in a spoonful of fertile forest soil. In fact, there are more living organism lives in a spoonful of soil as compared to the people living on Earth. So it is almost 6 billion. So in addition to that, there are other life forms living in the soil. There are the soil fungi, protozoa, or the small tiny organisms. They feed on this bacteria and fungi. And there are tiny worms like life forms are called nematodes, and arthropod, tiny insects, spiders, birds, and rats, all part of the soil ecosystem. So this is the slide shows how this fungal network is interconnected with the roots. So this fungal network are extension of the root tip. So it goes remotely and forages nutrients and water and brings it here, feeds back to the roots. So that is how much beneficial for this network between fungi and the plant. Okay. In addition to that, there are worms and tiny worms called nematodes and arthropods. They feed on these bacteria and fungi. So when their excreta becomes nutrient-rich manure, and also when they die after this life, so when they die, so it all the nutrients present in the body is released into the soil. So it boosts the fertility of the soil. So this is the typical soil food web. So the first triggering, the starting point is the availability of organic matter, which becomes a food source for the bacteria and fungi. So the bacteria and fungi boost the biological activity of the soil. So when this order of life flourishes, explodes, it calls upon the next order of life, like nematodes and the arthropods. They feed on them. Then this population becomes exceeds. Then it calls upon the next order of life. So obviously, this organic fertile soil, it invites all the life forms to thrive in the soil. So when this becomes soil, the soil web is established. So it brings back the soil ecosystem. So you don't have to do much. So you sow the seeds, and the plant is grown with the presence of this intact soil ecosystem itself. It takes care of it. So this is the approach the nature does. So it has sustained life so far millions of years by adopting this nature cycle. So here everything is utilized, nothing goes waste. So someone's waste is someone's treasure. So like, the soil organic matter is fed by the bacteria, and the bacteria mobilizes all the nutrients from the soil. Then it is the food for the plant to grow. So this cycle repeats. It is a closed loop cycle, intact, and it is sustainable, and it has sustained, the nature has sustained life by adopting this cycle for millions of years. So this slide shows there are 18 essential elements which are important for the healthy growth of the plant, as well as healthy life and growth of the humans and other animals. So the soil is the foundation of nutrients. So the healthier the soil, so healthier the all life forms on this earth. So this is the compare and contrast between the fertilizer-fed diet soil as well as the organic soil. So here, farmers throw in the chemical fertilizer, which are in a freely available form. So plants readily takes up all these freely available nutrients. So it didn't necessitated for a robust root growth. So there is a lesser root zone, and because there is a lesser root zone, and secondly, the side effects of chemical fertilizers erodes all these microbial population from the soil. There is a less amount of root microbial interaction. So there is a less mobilization of nutrients for the plant to grow. And also there is a lack of secretion of beneficial bacterial metabolized modified biofertilizers, which are usually used by the plant to get rid of the pests. So the farmers now have to manage it because it is vulnerable to all kind of disease. So they have to spray all these chemicals, agricultural chemicals. So the plant grows with the deficiency of nutrients and accumulated with so much of industrial toxins in their body. But here, this side, there is a robust root zone. So there is a lot of plant root microbial interaction. There is more mobilization of nutrients, and there is more production of biocompounds. So which not only helpful for the plant, healthy growth of the plant and productivity, it is also good for all the life forms, because we except the plants, all are consumers. So the primary producers on the planet is the only one, the plants. So we all are consumers. So it is good for the producers as well as the consumers on here. Okay, so we gradually moved from a natural agrarian lifestyle into a industrial manufactured lifestyle. So we moved from abundance to short supply. So here in nature, everything, as I said, everything is cycled. So we developed the concept of reduce, reuse, recycle by observing nature cycle. So everything is taken locally, used locally, and returned locally. So that is the saga of the sustainability. But we humans follow a linear approach. It is like, cut the cycle, put it flat. So what we do is we take the raw material from one place and transport it to another place where it is mass produced, and it is transported again to a place where it is being used. Then after the use, it is thrown away as abundant waste, which is causing excess amount and filthy pollution of the soil, water, and air. So the place where we took all the raw materials, so it becomes scarce. So we are creating scarcity on one side and filthiness, waste, and pollution on the other side. There is no link. So it is highly unsustainable. This is happening in our every walks of life. So which is unsustainable. So we need to adopt the sustainability, the natural cycle sustainability in every walks of life, including our relationship. So our relationship has to be sustainable. Okay. So even a small child can able to tell the organic vegetables from conventionally formed ones. So the basic difference is the taste. So there are several phytochemicals, nutrients which bring taste and aroma in the produce. So behind these several nutrient elements, there are soil microbes which are responsible for mobilizing all these nutrients for the plant to take up. So when I started growing all these fruits, vegetables, and grains in an organic way, the taste and aroma of the produce connected me to my earliest childhood experience of tasting it back in my village. So this can be otherwise comparable to a mother's milk versus formula milk. Soil life fed diet is like a mother's milk, so it is abundant with the nutrients, and the plant grows healthy as compared to the formula milk. So with our limited knowledge, so we are trying to mimic mother's milk, but still we are at a rudimentary stage. So it is bound to have a lot of side effects. So obviously it has its own negative consequence over our health as well as the environment. So there are many discoveries have been made in mother's milk. Recently I read a report saying that there are some anti-cancer compounds are present in mother's milk. And in addition to that, there are many live organisms are present in mother's milk, which are in favor of the feeding infants. Now, I would like to take you to another zone, which is very important, where you see the symbiotic relationship, which is playing a very important role in our life. For microbes, we are the microbial food forest. There are millions and millions of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and viruses we are harboring, and we are living so far in a mutualistic relationship. So one example, we harbor around 100 trillion microbial life in our gut. The scientists have identified there are 10,000 taxonomically identifiable bacterial families we are harboring in our gut. So, from where we got these microbes, first place, when we were born, we were sterile. We didn't have all these microbes. So, we were vulnerable to catch infection. So, we are so sensitive. So, the baby gets the first the microbes. These microbes are called beneficial microorganism or probiotic microbes. We get it from mom's milk. So these microbes goes first and colonizes, forms the first line of immunity for the baby, and then they grow together. So they grow in a symbiotic relationship. So it trains the baby's immune system, and it helps in maturation of the immune system. So they are in a mutualistic relationship. So that's how we, this playing a very important. If you see a human cell, if you count to one human cell, there are 10 microbes who are deciding our health. So this is our digestive system, and you see the maximum number of microbes are present in larger intestine, that is called colon. So it acts like a fermentation tank. All the undigested waste is being digested there, and the many goodies are mobilized. See, when we eat the food, so it goes to the stomach, it is being digested, and then goes to the travel to the small intestine. There is further digestion takes place, and then all the nutrients are absorbed, and the leftover waste, undigested waste, when it travels through the colon. So these bacteria, they have the enzymes to digest this leftover unwanted organic waste, and it mobilizes energy for its own survival. At the same time, it enormously helps by producing various number of vitamins and essential fatty acids, amino acids, and it is also helpful in various ways. So this next slide, this is the electron micrograph showing the number of different types or diverse number of bacteria which are digesting the complex cellular or cellulose fiber in our intestine. So this is our comparatively, this is our root zone. This is human root zone, where we saw the similar symbiotic relationship. So this is mimicking, the nature is mimicking all these kind of wonderful networks everywhere. So what it does, it mobilizes and many nutrients like it produces vitamin B complex, vitamin K. It is also boosts metabolism. It calms our nerves. It is also resistant to any kind of enteric pathogen, so it doesn't allow. So it forms a resistant layer. It also preserves our gut lining. It also helps in bone mineral density, and it also trains our immune system. So the immune system becomes more mature. So when I was a child, so we were leading, most of them leading an integrated agrarian lifestyle. We had livestock in our home. So we periodically shifted all the organic agricultural waste along with the animal droppings back to the cultivation field. So this decaying organic matter became a food source for the soil bacteria, which promoted the biological activity of soil. So the crops were grown on this fertile soil without the knowledge of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So we were mostly eating millets and whole grain foods with a variety of edible greens. In Tamil Nadu, there are 20 different variety of edible grains which are very commonly consumed. It is a routine traditional dietary practice in Tamil Nadu. And on top of it, the king of the edible greens is the moringa, is also very much part of our diets. So these actually traditional food culture actually sustained all these probiotic bacteria in our gut, because it has provided a lot of dietary fibers so that they can thrive and sustain and help us. So now we have moved. Okay, this is another interesting thing. Our ancestors were giving importance to 6 different tastes. Even our Indian system of medicine, Ayurveda and Siddha, also emphasis on 6 different tastes in every meal in order to balance out 3 nadis, Vada and Pitta and Kapha. These 3 are the vital humors which are playing a very important role in experiencing optimal health. These 6 tastes, yeah, they considered has to be present in order to balance out these 3 nadis and to experience optimal health. And in modern scientific parlance, if you look, it actually provides variety of nutrients and dietary fibers to the meal. So the meal becomes wholesome. So when we consume it, so it is sustaining our own life as well as our the soil bacteria, the gut bacteria. So in Tamil Nadu, there is a saying that if you feed someone's child, it will feed your child. So it is very much relevant to this context. So like you are not only eating for yourself, you are eating for these goodies who are sitting there in your colon. So this way, so you are feeding them, they are feeding you. So this is a perfect symbiotic relationship where we are living together and carrying each other. So that is a wonderful relationship. So now we gradually moved from a kind of integrated agrarian lifestyle, like a whole grain, whole millet consumption food culture to a refined food culture. So like I said, when I was a child, we were on a millet diet. So that is technically we call it as a high fiber complex carbohydrate diet. So we moved from that kind of diet to now the farmers, those who are consuming that kind of, were into that kind of culture. Now they are consuming 3 times polished white rice. So every family is having some kind of disease and metabolic disorder. So why it is happening? It is because we robbed our food source for our essential gut bacteria, because we consume only simple starch with a very less amount of fibers. So it is taking a toll on these gut bacteria. So it is at the verge of extinction. Okay, so yeah, if you look at our human history, there are 250,000 plants on the earth, and we have been consuming around 70,000 edible plants during our human history. And now we have reduced from 70,000 to only three. So now we have given prioritized to the corn, wheat, and rice. So, and even these three are highly monocultured with a lot of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. So it becomes the food is not good. It is not sustaining our life. So what I said, we moved from a complex carbohydrate diet to a simple starchy diet without much dietary fibers in it. So, and combine that with the next line, with the intake of a lot of antibiotics. So that is actually eroding the essential gut bacteria, so which is causing collapse of the gut immunity. So which is changing the spectrum of the probiotic bacterial colonies in our gut. So these good bacteria are getting eroded, and it creates a void space. So the enteric infectious bacteria are getting into the system. They are doing the opposite. So instead of preserving the host, it is like a parasite. It is destroying the host, creating all kind of metabolic imbalances. So the scientists have this is another scientific study where they had shown the importance of dietary fibers in maintaining the healthy gut microbial biota. So the scientists have identified there are many diseases which are associated with this altered probiotic microbiome. So there are, starting from obesity, depression, inflammatory bowel syndrome, and whatnot. So everything is linked to this. So this shows. So we have lost the protective symbiotic layer from the gut. So this another very interesting phenomenon called form effect. So which is observed in many part of the countries, especially in the rural areas. So what is farm effect? The children who grow up in traditional farms, farm environment, are protected from developing asthma and allergies, even any immune complication. This farm effect can be largely explained by the child's early life contact with farm animals, in particular cows and their microbes. So this is very interesting. So what they have observed is very remarkable. So they wanted to take up a study. So they actually did a very interesting study in US with the Amish community. Amish people, they migrated from Switzerland and Germany in 18th century in order to practice their religion, and also to escape religious persecution. Right till now, they are leading an ancestral agrarian lifestyle. They don't use any modern equipment. They don't use electricity, telephones, anything. So they are living in an area in Pennsylvania and Canada. So the U.S. government and Canada government allowed them to live like that. So they use for transport. They use horse wagon, and they have mechanized equipments for farming, but they use horsepower for that. And they build they live in a community, so they keep their cows next to their home. So their cow shed is next to their home, and what they did is, in order to do a thorough study, they collected dust sample from Amish home. And they also, in order to compare, they took another group of people. They also migrated from Europe to US, and they are leading a similar lifestyle like the Amish, but except they don't have cows next to their home. So they have a field, and cow barns are located away from it. So they wanted to have, why they chosen this Hittite, another group of people, because they wanted to get rid of all the scientific variables except this factor, so that they can able to mechanistically prove that yes, it is happening right. So what they observed in the dust samples, there is a saturation of microbial life in their dust sample as compared to the Hittites. So Amish home environment is saturated with this lot of the microbes. So what they did is they collected the blood samples from the kids, those who are growing in both the communities. So what they observed is the eosinophil count, which is responsible for most of the allergies, asthma, bronchitis, and autoimmune disorders. So we're very, very, very less in Amish children as compared to the Hittite. So and this shows that the immune system is much more strengthened and matured to handle any kind of later on infection. So this is the Amish home. On the left side, you see their house and their barn. The cow barn is next here, and as compared to the Hittite people. So what they finally came up with this, because this Amish people, they kept their cows nearby, so the microbes from the cows, so it got filled into the environment. The kids playing in the barn, coming there, coming to the home, so they're bringing all those microbes. So it is basically, these microbes are all around their house, so which is causing a big change. So so it is the children's, even they say that the children's are born with the immune system, and they got this kind of priming in their mother before they are born. So that is the thing, the advantage of this having a harmless microbial environment, a saturated microbial environment or probiotic environment in our home environment. So that's why our ancestors were very scientific, having our culture is based on very scientific principles. So we were using cow dung, cow urine for sanitation. So they were using this as a sanitizer, applying in and around home, outside home, so that we are actually creating sanity, not by getting rid of the harmful microbes, rather embracing the good probiotic microbes that takes care of the ill effects. So now I am going to tell the opposite phenomenon, urban effect. So the childhood leukemia. So there is a Professor Mel Gibson, he's a director of Institute of Cancer Research, London, suggested childhood leukemia is a paradox of progress in modern societies. With a lack of microbial exposure early in life, especially in developed countries where the highly hygienic the methods are practiced, it's like very clean, with a lack of microbial exposure early in life, resulting in immune system malfunction. So he, with 40 years of research, he came up with a strong evidence for a delayed infection theory for the cause of this disease. So what he saw is, because of the lack of microbial exposure, in fact, he counted number of microbial colonies. So usually we get 10,000 microbial colonies in our gut. So these kids were showing less than 2,000 microbial colonies. So that really, that yearly exposure to these kind of harmless microbes creates an immature immune system, which is very detrimental for the future infection stage, where they get this kind of like out of crazy immune response, leading to this childhood leukemia. I see another very interesting anti-cancer ritual in India, where in Madhya Pradesh, after the Diwali celebration, these infants and small babies were rolled on, fresh cow manure. So they believe that this cow manure has got healing medicinal properties. Of course, it looks like there is some scientific insight into it. So this is the compare and contrast where the Western diet, it is it's more simple carbohydrate, less dietary fibers in it. So there is more harmful bacterial metabolites, as this beneficial microbes are getting removed, and there is a less medicinal metabolites from the microbes. So obviously this we get benefit from our traditional high fiber complex starchy diet. So our diet should be like this. So now we mostly eat two-thirds of the rice and one-third is vegetables, fruits, some fiber source. So we need to go back and adopt our ancestral food lifestyle, wherein we have more two-thirds of the fibers in the form of fresh fruits, vegetables, and cooked vegetables, sprouts, and one-third will be the carbohydrate source, protein source. So that will be good for our own health as well as sustaining this beneficial microbes in our gut. This is nowadays, today we are either in agriculture or in medical practice. We are too intense in using broad spectrum active antibiotics, which are highly unsustainable, leading to pollution of the air, water, and soil, causing erosion of this essential bacteria. So if you want to sustain our life on this planet, so we need to adopt a probiotic pro lifestyle, thereby the beneficial microbial communities can be sustained in the soil as well as inside us, which in turn sustain our life on this planet. Okay, so we need to this slide emphasis, we need to be more probiotic towards our life. Okay, so we need to add more organic matter to the inner and outer soil in order to sustain the life of us as well as the life on this planet. So the true solution lies in our roots. We need to go back and revive the traditional agrarian lifestyle, wherein we follow the nature cycle of regenerative organic agriculture. So the true wealth of the nation lies in quality domestic product, that is QDP, instead of gross domestic product, that is GDP. So in order to sustain our health, so we need to be sustainable in terms of our health as well as the planet's health. So also we must understand that farming is a science. It is a form of an art. It is the culture. It is a way to realize the Vasudeva Kudubakam, which means the whole world is a family living together and carrying each other. Thank you.
Your viewpoint and analysis on our Indian policies and our Indian strategies towards organic farming and also about pesticide use. So, what exactly, what is the bright picture that we can see for India?
Yeah, actually, I would say this current situation, the pandemic we are facing now, the COD, COVID-19 crisis, it's made every government throughout the globe to think towards sustainability. See, it is not like growth is not like you see a rise in graph. That is not sustain. If it is not sustainable, then it is an inflammation. It is a swelling. It is going to bust. So we have seen many busts. So this is the warning sign of nature that you have busted me many times. So I have been patient, and now I have lost my patience. See, now this is the tablet, you swallow it. So it is the compulsion the nature is putting on us. So we are more aware, and every government is thinking sustainability. If we want to sustain our life, if we want to sustain the ecosystem, that is the gift we got. So if we want to sustain, so we have to move towards sustainability. So the conventional thinking, the conventional farming, conventional industrial, the development has to be stopped. And we are now because of this pandemic, it has forced us to be less destructive. So it has kept us home, and we have become less destructive. So it is like, you don't have to do anything. You just stop doing all what you are doing now. And obviously, there is a greater nature intelligence that has sustained life so much, so far, so now, and it will take care of its own. So what now? We have to be ambassadors. We have to be advocates of this nature cycle. So we need to bring this nature's sustainable cycle in every part of our life. in economy, in development, in our own relationship. That's what I said. Our relationship now, it's unsustainable. It has to be sustainable. In my presentation, the quality is very important than quantity. So we have been so far targeting the quantity to feed the masses. So the thing is, we could able to feed it, but we are now at the receiving end. So we are facing pandemic of diseases, non-communicable, not only the communicable disease and non-communicable diseases. So what we have to do is we have to be very smart. We have to choose a quality domestic product. So what we can do, so my personal advice is we can quickly change our attitude by adopting smart foods like moringa. So the moringa, it is very native to our own country. It grows wildly in an uncared environment, but it is so intelligent. It could accumulate so much of nutrients and phytochemicals in its body. So when we consume it, so we benefit with wholesome nutrients. So this is the quality food. So this is a complete food in itself. I would foresee that our astronauts, when they go to space missions, I foresee that they will be taking this moringa plant to grow in Mars or grow in the extraterrestrial situation. And also they consume this in order to, because it is radioprotective, because it has got antioxidants, there's so much of phytochemicals, it is radioprotective, it is anti-stress. And I heard that in Israel, army, they are using this moringa leaf extract because this Israeli army is surrounded by enemies. They are always under combat stress. So they actually, the tons and tons of moringa leaf powder is being imported in Israel. In fact, I came to know because one of the embassy official contacted me. They wanted to have a reliable source for moringa leaf powder. They asked me if you can able to help. I said there are many mouths to feed in India, so I'm not in agreement with this. So let me first address our in-home problems before I cater you. So this Israeli army, they are very smart. They are world smart people. So they are using this moringa leaves extract. They are giving it to the soldiers in order to take care of their sleep loss and stress fatigue, combat fatigue. So why can't we, I would advise wherever I talk, wherever I go, I always, put forth this moringa leaves. Why can't we introduce in our midday meal moringa leaf powder or some form? The moringa leaves can be introduced in order to take care of, because our country also faces a lot of malnourishment, especially the children and pregnant mothers. They are facing all this malnourishment situation. So this is a very in-home remedy which is in front of our home. We are ignoring it. We are not working on it. Why can't we get benefit? Because our literature is full of rich of all this moringa knowledge. So in our language there is a saying that if you have one moringa, if you consume moringa, so in elderly life you won't be using a stick to walk. So it'll be. And when I went to IIT Mandi, I met a farmer from Uttar Pradesh, where we were actually talking and we were exchanging our thoughts, and I was telling that the moringa leaves have been used for several diseases, like our ancestors were using this moringa tree to address 200 different diseases. So when I was telling, he said there is a saying in our village as well that if you use moringa juice along with the hing and senda namak, it can take care of 89 different pain. So this is the knowledge we have. We just ignored it because we quickly adopted the Western knowledge, and we thought it is more valuable, more useful. But now this pandemic has compelled us to rethink, because the India is faring much as compared to other countries because we are tropic. That's one reason. Secondly, we still have this rudimentary agrarian lifestyle. Thirdly, Our environment is saturated with these microbes, bombarded with all these infectious microbes. Our water is contaminated, our air is contaminated, our soil is contaminated. So, and thirdly, we are exposed to so much of bacterial, viral, protozoan, fungal infection. So our immunity is being, working every day. Like, if you want to have good muscle, so you go to the gym and work on it, and then you get a bigger organ, right? Muscle. Same like that. Our immune system is constantly bombarded, so it has to work. So it has to be very smart. It has to be very powerful. So it has adopted and developed a powerful security system which cannot be able to break. The infectious agents cannot effectively break. So that's apart from several other reasons. So this is the major striking point as compared to the Western countries, very hygienic, sanitary environment. With my own example, so I went there into the US. I stayed there for 2 years before coming back to India. When I started eating my food, so I developed a loose motion. So my home food is become allergic to me. The reason behind is there is one bacteria called E. coli. It's an enteric pathogen which is abundant in our environment. So our immune system has made a superior power that it is not allowing that bacteria, even though it is there, maybe few, it is not allowing the bacteria to become infectious state. So, but when I came back, so my immune system got downgraded because there is not much exposure, there is not much training, day-to-day training. So my immune system immunity got down. So now the enteric bacteria is got an opportunity to bounce back, and it is giving me this trouble. So after a few weeks, I became all right because this old trained memory has come back probably. So I have become more Indian. So this is the thing. So we need to take up these smart foods, which is very native to us. It is very organic, very suitable for our genetic makeup. And I should say that we should consume this every day. I know there is one guy, Fidel Castro. He visited India. He actually took this moringa plants, grew in his country, and he consumed almost 30 grams of moringa leaf powder every day and maintained his health. And he also, gave this good health to his countrymen. So why can't we? It is a good fodder. Not apart from this, it has got good nutrients. It is a very good fodder for animals. It will fetch more milk. It is very good manure. So if you make biofertilizers and use it in your field, so it will boost the plant growth and it will provide all the nutrients. So what else you want? So health is wealth. It is often said health is wealth. This can be realized with this, adopting our tradition, our food tradition, diverse food culture. So I think we don't have to don't have to invent a new thing. We have to go back and find our roots. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
The details for your Moringa bullet, which you have. So where can we purchase that?
Yeah, I can able to send you probably if he can able to WhatsApp. My WhatsApp number is please note down 805. Maybe you can type for me 805-617-0742.
Okay.
So it is like I incorporated our culture, that 6 different tastes into this. Initially, I started with the moringa leaf juice in system of medicine. I wanted to incorporate our knowledge, that 6 different tastes into it, so that it may, it potentiates the main action of the moringa as well as it nullifies any side effects. So this is a very effective food as well as medicine. Of course, it has to be like that. The medicine should be food, nutritious food. So because the healing takes place in our body, so there is no external healing is happening. So we have got a most intelligent system of nature which can be able to replenish, rejuvenate, take care of itself. So what we have to do is we have to support that system. So our Indian system of medicine is in support of this natural system. It goes well. It is pro to the system. So obviously it fortifies, boosts our physiological system. So our body is in a better position to, take care of itself, to fight any kind of unwanted illness. Thank you.
तो भारतीय जो बोल रहे हैं कि आप गवर्नमेंट की जो पॉलिसीज हैं उसमें सबसे बड़ा जो रिस्ट्रिक्शंस है डब्ल्यूटीओ एग्रीमेंट है मेरी नजर में, और मेजरली डब्ल्यूटीओ एग्रीमेंट के ही कारण एग्रीकल्चर बहुत सफर कर रहा है इस देश में.
We got a very strong government. So definitely, we have got a 100% organic state, Sikkim. So we would like to have 100% throughout the country. So obviously, if you imagine, our whole country becomes 100% organic, and you see, you will see the Bharata, where it is sustaining, all the life. So obviously, it is full of dharma.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
So I have two questions actually. It's on the social point of view of this talk. So my first question is that our country is like our population is increasing very fast in compared to the other countries as you compared with the Western countries. So with organic farming, do we get the same kind of productivity which can feed the diverse food kind of system people like? So is it possible with the organic? And my second question, I can ask right now or later.
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. This is very important. So this is very interesting question as well. See, I would start with my own experience. That will speak in a much better way. When I start growing this traditional rice, so one of the rice is Maplai Samba. It's a reddish in color. So I pounded it whole grain. So I removed only the husk, and all this bran and germ layer, everything is intact. It is a wholesome rice. So I cooked it. So I used previously I used to take white rice. So there is always temptation to take more. If you take one plate full of rice, you always tempted to take more. But here, when I started eating this Maplai Samba rice, I took the handful of rice and I could not able to take more than that. So my body says it's enough for me. So the body has got an intelligent way to identify nutritive compounds, because body needs these nutrients to sustain itself. So it has got an intelligent way to identify nutrients in the food we are consuming. So when we consume polished white rice or any processed industrialized food, so it is deficient of nutrients on one side, and secondly, it is bombarded with so much of industrial chemicals. So body is still, after taking one full plate, a body is still thinking that I am lack of nutrients. So it wants to compensate by taking more. But it is a vicious cycle. This is an imbalanced food. It is full of starch, simple starch. So when you take in more, what happens? Your blood sugar level goes up quickly, and then your insulin hormone has to secrete to bring down. And then you are hungry again. You have to take it more. So it puts a metabolic stress in your system. But you see here in Maplai Samba, when I take it, this Maplai Samba rice is having a wholesome nutrients. So when I take it, the body sense that yes, I have fulfilled my energy needs and nutrient needs. So it says enough for me. Stop it. So here, the beauty is the Maplai Samba rice, because it has got higher amount of fibers, it slowly gets digested. So there is a gradual buildup of blood sugar level. So there is because it is a gradual improvement, so you get a continuous energy supply. So because you are getting continuous supply, you are not hungry. So you take in. So in fact, I take twice a day. I'm taking this Maplai Samba. I have many native grains. So I take it in the morning around 11 o'clock, and then my next meal is around 6 o'clock. So this is, I'm going into my field. I'm working hard. I'm exposing myself to the sun. So I work in my field every day, at least 3 hours, 4 hours. So what I do is I ensure that I eat, and then after an hour, I go to the field. I work there until I become tired, until I become hungry, until I feel the hunger pangs. Then I go and take the meal. So this is the thing, you say we are highly populated. Of course, we are in tropics. Obviously, this is the boon or curse. So we are highly populated, but if you want to, there is always a fear that, oh, how to cater all those people. So the thing is, yeah, the 1 spoon of moringa leaf powder is equivalent to your almost a full day meal. How smart it is. So if we start supplementing moringa, so moringa growing is very simple, and making moringa powder is easy. And you can also, our ancestral practice is that we make navadanya. So 9 grains. How they do is they first soak the grains, and then the next day they take it out and they sprout it, and then next day, and then after that they dry it out and roast it, and then make powder. So, what is this? All this means that nowadays you see in the advertisement this bioavailability of nutrients like that, so on, so forth. They are motivating many average Indians and kids to take their products. But the real bioavailability, it is the intelligent and the technique of our ancestors. So what they have done. So during this process, all along, they increased the bioavailability of nutrients, degraded the anti-nutrient factors, so that this powder can be made into porridge and can be given to an infant. It is abundant with the nutrients. So the moringa leaf is also like that. So this can be processed, cooked, and fermented or baked in any ways, and this can be given. And this will take care of all the population in our country. They will be living in experiencing good health. So it will put a toll on our economy as well.
My second question is on this series. Actually, it's again related to the population only, because for organic farming, as per I understand, the animals are very important for our society, and we can't suggest other people to be vegetarian because it will be forced implementation. But animal butchering, and then as the population density is increasing, we don't have the space in the cities, especially to keep the animals. So, how do you think if this cycle is broken over the years, that human is divide of the animal? So, how do you think this organic farming will be sustainable for the future?
Yeah, I'd like to tell there is a misnomer that we have high amount of proteins in animal meat. When I was there, when I read about these scientific articles on moringa leaves, it was like a hot topic there in US. Several publications came up, and the US Department of Agriculture started showing interest. They took the moringa leaf sample, analyzed them, and then they put out the data in their website. So what they found is the moringa leaf has got 28 different types of amino acids. Some of them are very essential amino acids the body cannot be able to produce. See, some of the amino acids our body can produce from the food source. Some of them cannot be produced. They are called essential amino acids. So there are 8 different essential amino acids which are present in moringa leaves. And out of that, there are 3-4 amino acids which are found in animal meat. So obviously, it is a vegan meat. So it's a misnomer that we need to have animal protein in order to, in order to be sufficient with our nutritive requirement. This can provide, because you see the cows or buffalo, they build a good muscle. They don't eat animal meat; they eat grass. So, what do you think the grass? How grass translated into muscle mass? Because the grass also has proteins, and it has got a digestive capability, can able to break down all those good nutrients and translate into form of a muscle. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the great talk. I just had a question again related to what you had mentioned about moringa. And again, moringa is probably a rich, I think, concoction of phytochemicals, right? So, and a lot of the benefits are related to, induction of cell cycle arrest, apoptosis, regulation of immune system, etc. But what has happened that in the West, a lot of the universities are doing studies on moringa, isolating its individual components and testing them on transfected cell lines, looking at cell level changes in them. So since this is kind of inherent or nascent to India, why aren't more Indian universities doing similar kind of research? Because again, a lot of this intellectual property is being co-opted by the West, right? So that was one part of my question, and the second part of the question would be that is there any other phytochemical rich source other than moringa that could be used as an additive?
As an additive in my preparation, or I couldn't get you the second part of.
Sorry, as an additive, just to add to the benefits of moringa,
Okay.
because the
Yeah,
phytochemical space is,
yeah. This goes
I,
well with the. Yeah, this goes well with any kind of preparation because it is a kind of food supplement, nutraceutical supplement. Okay, in order to address the first question, so you were asking that there are many universities, they are interested and started doing research and trying to extract individual compounds and try to use it as a therapeutic agent to take care of our health. See, the the thing is. For last 10 years abroad, I was doing the same research. So I was into the drug discovery reductionist approach. So we were identifying many compounds from nature, and then we tested, extracted, isolate the compounds and tested in cell culture models and animal models. And then we recruit some compounds which are having a therapeutic potency against particular disease. And then what we do is we identify the structure by X-ray crystallography. There is a technology available. It will map out the compound structures, and then we go to the synthetic laboratory, and then we synthesize different variations of these compounds, and then we bring back all 10 different variations, isomers, and then we test it in our models, and then we find out which fraction is having a good biological activity, and then we go for patents and publication. Then this goes to the next level, preclinical trials and clinical trials. And if you see any drugs in the market, it is around 8 to 10 years of research, it comes back, but still it is prone to many side effects. So what that means is all this waste of this thousands of dollars or millions of dollars and finally bringing out a faulty drug which is having so much of side effects. That is like, you save one organ at the expense of other organs or the whole human system. That's why it what I realized is this kind of reductionist approach is flawed. So I was realizing that most of my research outcome, instead of benefiting directly to the society, it was benefiting mostly for the development of drugs, international drug companies. So what I was frustrating myself and looking for a holistic solution to address fundamental cause of all human disease, because this modern approach, it only addresses the outcome of the disease. Like, if you consider human system as a sophisticated machine, like, industry. So you go there are many parameters they observe, like temperature, pressure, flow, like that. And then, they regulate these parameters tightly so that they get a good output. So the human system is not like that. For example, if a person is having BP, you give a pill and then the blood pressure comes down, but still there is a root cause underlying it, is still burning inside. So obviously it is going to come up again. It will show its signs again. Then you have to suppress it with the drugs. And also the medical system is highly compartmentalized. Now, if you got a disease in your heart, you go to a cardiologist. He will diagnose it and he prescribe a set of drugs. Then if he finds any problem with your kidney, he refers you to the nephrologist, and then he goes diagnoses and he prescribes a set of drugs. So finally at the end of the day, you are a handful of drugs. So this is not sustainable. So because it is going to give you a patchy solution, a temporary solution with at a long-term side effects. So that is not a good solution. So that's why I give importance to our Indian system of approach, medical approach, where it is the drug, the medicine is not given in a single form. It is always in a compound form, a whole herb. It is a whole herb extract without much use of chemical process preservatives. So it is given as a whole to address the whole human situation. So it is really addressing the root cause of the disease. Obviously, it is not addressing any particular disease. So it is addressing it is boosting our healing mechanism. So how it does is all our Siddha and Ayurvedic preparation, herbal preparation, it is acting as a tonic in one side. Another way, it is activating all those detoxification mechanisms, enhances immune system function. So thereby, body is tuned to handle this kind of situation. So what we need is, we need to have a holistic approach. So instead of refining the drugs, because in Tamil Nadu, Madras University, there was a professor. He was working on the similar lines, like to discover. Well, in our traditional practice, we use Phyllanthus neruri. There's one particular plant for jaundice. So what we do is we harvest the whole herb and wash it and then grind it into paste, and we give the whole herb in buttermilk for jaundice patients. So this is the standard therapy for 3 days, 3-4 days. They have to consume it, and then fourth day they are cured from jaundice. So here the professor, he wanted to study and isolate the compounds, and when he isolated the single compound, which is the active principle of that plant, then when he tested it, and he tested in animals as well as in human patients, it was not effective. So it was really a crazy thing. You have isolated the active principle and you have given it is not working. Then finally, he has found there are so many cofactors which are redundant. It doesn't have any function itself. So when these cofactors are present, then this active principle gets unlocked and becomes active, and it is very effective. So you are giving in a crude form, it is 1/10 of the concentration of the pure component, or maybe 1/10,000th of the concentration of this pure form, but it is as effective as the ultra concentrated fraction, which is bound to have a lot of side effects, because body doesn't handle this kind of high concentrated form, because it is putting pressure on our own healing system. So it is hijacking our innate health, pressing it, and it's fine. So when it leaves the body, so it leaves with so much of damage we have to incur. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for the talk. This wonderful, wonderful talk. I have just one question. How about high-tech farming? I'm talking about vertical farming and not hydroponic or aquaponics. I'm talking about vertical farming, which is with
actually, that is good in like urban like situations, like we are lack of space. We have few space next to our balconies and terrace like that. So obviously, vertical farming going to help. We can use all this technology unless until you follow this nature cycle, sustainability cycle. So we don't have to buy any fertilizer or growth promoters or pesticides from outside. So I have developed a few simple methods to grow crops on a very small space. So how you can start? You start with your home. So you need to collect all the kitchen waste, food waste, and blend it in the form of a paste, and then mix with the fertile soil which is dug out from your backyard underneath the well-grown tree, and then mix the paste well with the 50% moisture, and then fill this mixture loosely in small containers and cover it and put it in under shade for a week. So in a week time, this soil microbes feed on this vegetable food waste and turn them into organic fertilizer. So after you bring back the containers and water them, put it in the under the sun, and then watch them grow. That's how simple it is to transform yourself from a consumer to a producer. Even if you can produce 1%, that is good thing. Good motivation. And in order to take care of the nutrients of the plant as well as to get rid of the pests, I have developed a method where you use ginger, garlic, and green chili paste, which are soaked in buttermilk for a week, and then you spray it on the plants in order to get rid of the pest. And to improve the nutrient availability, you add a little moringa leaf paste to it. So that will boost the nutrient availability. So it will directly feed the plant with the nutrients through its foliar roots. So only condition here is you have to spray this nutrient mixture after 4:30, that is during the sunset, where the insects they visit here attack the pests, so attack the plants. So obviously when you spray at that time, so you will get rid of the pests, as well as the plants are more ready to take up all those nutrients through foliar roots. Thank you.